There is something strange happening in the economy. We haven't seen anything like that since at least 1945. Every economy today is turning into a wartime economy, especially the US economy. And that means that prices will rise and wages are going to stagnate. Basically, you are going to work a lot harder, but since prices will be rising faster than ever, your quality of life is going to deteriorate. And that's not simply going to happen for a few months or for a few years. It could literally happen throughout the next 5 to 10 years. I know that most people are not telling you, but if you literally just zoom out and take a look at the US economy or the British economy or the European economy, you will see that every single economy is turning into a wartime economy. So let me explain to you the difference and how it will directly impact your life. Now, first of all, when you're actually having a wartime economy, everything is done for the sake of winning, even if that means that the quality of your life is going to deteriorate. We have two types of economics or two types of manufacturing. On one side, you have just in time. On the other side, you have just in case. At least I call them like that. So just-in-time manufacturing was developed by Toyota back in 1970. And the point of this manufacturing was that we have to do absolutely everything possible to eliminate waste in our manufacturing process so that we can reduce our costs, so that we can maximize our profits and lower down our prices. And if we can successfully do that, we can offer to clients a much better product at a much lower price, and that's how we are going to conquer the market. And that's why back in 1970s and 80s, Japanese car manufacturers such as Toyota and Honda completely dominated the American companies or the American market. US automakers couldn't possibly compete with Japanese because Japanese had a very simple strategy. It means that we are not going to have extra inventory. It means that we don't have to rent extra storage. It means that we are not going to have any kind of waste. At first glance, it seems a very efficient strategy. It seems like that's what you're supposed to be as a business owner. Unfortunately, that is no longer going to be the case. That strategy only worked because the question was not where are you going to manufacture that. The strategy was that who can actually get the best prices. If you can actually get that piece of technology or that part of the car or this part of electronics from the other side of the world, you are going to get it from there. And since the entire world is just one giant market where everybody is just competing, everybody is trying to reduce the price. Because at the end of the day, you as a business, you will actually buy the best product at the least possible price to maximize your profits and offer a lower price so that you can actually get most of the market. And that's how you're going to maximize your revenue and dominate your entire market. Middle East primarily focused on oil because they have a lot of oil. So they took all of that money, built more places where they can extract oil since there is a lot of oil beneath the ground. Then they have spent that money building refineries to refine that oil. Germany specialized in high-end manufacturing because Germany has a long history of building very great technologies. And if they have all of this expertise and they have built the supply chains and the industry for decades, they can do that, for example, far better than Middle Eastern countries. Qatar, that discovered a lot of gas, started investing in extracting gas and building LNGs. Japan specialized in cars, China in electronics, Taiwan in computer chips. 90% of all advanced computer chips are produced in Taiwan simply because Taiwan has actually spent hundreds of billions of dollars, probably trillions of dollars, to offer the best possible price and the best possible product. So when you buy an NVIDIA's computer chips to train your AI, those NVIDIA's computer chips are being manufactured in Taiwan because only Taiwan can offer that. There are literally not many other companies that can do that. And the best example is the US oil industry. If you look at the United States is the world's largest oil producer. But here's the question: why would the United States buy so much oil from Canada? And the answer is very simple. The United States has a lot of refineries that can refine heavy oil, but the United States has a lot of light oil. On the other side, Canada has a lot of harsh oil or hard oil. So it doesn't actually make for the United States any kind of sense to refine that light oil in the United States when you can actually use US refineries to refine the harsh oil from Canada. So the United States imports a lot of harsh or hard oil from Canada, while it exports that light oil to countries that have refineries of light oil. So at the end of the day, if you literally just zoom out, the entire world is just one giant market and we're maximizing our efficiency. Everybody's trying to get the lowest possible price. Now that is beneficial for you because at the end of the day, you are the client. You are getting the final product. So you are getting lower oil prices, you are getting lower electronics prices, you are getting lower car prices because of the just-in-time strategy, because the world was one giant globalized market. But for this system to work, global shipping routes must be protected. Since one thing is going from China to Japan, then from Japan to India, from India to Middle East, from Middle East into the United States, somebody should protect these shipping routes. And the United States Navy was the guarantor of that. But if you want the US Navy to protect those shipping lines, then there is one condition. This is an unquestionable condition. You must use the US dollars. The more the world uses the US dollars, the more money goes into the US government, the more the US government can invest in the US Navy. So that system was working perfectly for the entire world. And that's why, for example, countries such as Japan and China want to integrate in the US system and are ready to trade with the United States, even though that the United States is abusing the system by printing way more dollars than it's supposed to. Now, we are moving into a completely different strategy that is called just-in-case strategy. Now, the difference is that now it's not about offering the best possible price for the market or for you, but rather just in case we need this because there might be a war. So if you're manufacturing your iPhones in China, don't do that. Why? Because what if China cuts trade with us? We don't trust China anymore. So bring your manufacturing to the United States. But that is going to increase the price. Well, that's not the priority. The priority is that we are going to have autonomy. It means that our iPhones manufactured in the United States, computer chips manufactured in the United States, oil is only refined in the United States because we don't trust the rest of the world. Now, at first, it seems a very noble idea, but if you just zoom for a moment and think about it, you will kind of realize that it is going to raise prices for you, because if every single country is going to do that, which is what every single country is trying to do right now, that means that prices all across the globe will start rising. And guess who is going to suffer the most? It is the average people. It is the middle class. So everything should be manufactured at home regardless of the price. So let's take an example of bananas. United States pretty much imports like 99% of all the bananas that are sold in the United States. Now here is a very simple question. Is it possible for the United States to not manufacture but grow bananas in the US? Well, of course it's possible. Just one problem is that it is just very, very expensive. So if you can actually get it from the countries where bananas naturally grow because they're just located geographically in places where bananas naturally grow, you can, for example, get it for $1. You can do that in the US, but there must be extra investments. So the final price is going to be $10. So here's the question for you. Would you like a banana for $1 or would you like a banana for $10? Another example, coffee. Is it possible to make coffees in the US? Yes, it is possible. But the only problem is that, or the only difference is that it is simply going to be a lot more expensive to make it in the United States because in that part of the world, it just naturally grows there. Take the example of iPhones. So a lot of people think that Apple manufactures iPhones in China for some unreasonable reason. But here's the problem is that China has spent trillions of dollars building entire cities that manufacture every single piece of electronics at a very low price. So if you, for example, take this iPhone, it has probably over 1,000 pieces within itself. Because China manufactures all of these electronics in one place at the lowest possible price, Apple outsources the manufacturing iPhone to a Chinese company simply because they can do it at a lower price. Apple does not manufacture its iPhone. It is a Chinese company that does that because they simply have specialized in that. There isn't a single company in the United States that can replace a Chinese company that can do that in China. Refining oil is another great example. Building refineries is extremely expensive. Probably it's going to take you like $10 billion to build it, and then you need probably like 5 to 10 years to build it, and then it will take you 20 years to just break even, leave alone. You're not going to make a profit. So if I'm an oil company and there is like light oil, should I build a refinery to refine light oil in the US, or should I basically export it to another country that has refineries to refine light oil at a very efficient price? Of course, the latter is a far better option, because if I can do that, then I can sell that oil at a lower price. But now if I'm going to spend $20 billion building a refinery in the United States now, then I will have to pass that down cost to you, because you are the client. Who is going to bear the cost? Somebody has to pay it. That's how basically business works, whether you like it or not. So Trump wanted to completely change the system because he's like, we don't actually want this just-in-time strategy. This strategy is not for us because we want to be independent and it's America first. So we want just-in-case strategy so that we can actually go to China and say to China, listen, we don't need anything from you. We are the United States of America and we can do everything at home. So take your iPhones and go back to China. So his first plan was that I'm going to introduce tariffs. So the point of tariffs was that it's a tax. So Apple, you make your iPhones in China, but you bring it, you pay 100% tariff. So essentially, if you're bringing them to the US at $500, you pay an extra 100%. So now it's $1,000. So Apple is going to think, should I actually pay 100% tax by bringing it back to America? Or basically it is going to be far more profitable to spend $1 trillion building those factories in the United States. So if Apple can do the math, maybe they will simply shift manufacturing back to the United States by making all of these investments. Well, if they make all of these investments in the US, remember, they will have to pass that cost down to you, because where else Apple is going to take that $1 trillion to invest it in the United States? But that plan did not work because the Supreme Court basically said that your tariffs are unconstitutional and you should completely abandon them and we should not have tariffs. Yes, Donald Trump introduced a 15% tariff, but it's a temporary. It's going to go away in 60 to 90 days from now. So his second strategy is that I'm simply going to make it extremely unprofitable for you because I will simply break the entire system. So the United States is no longer going to protect the global shipping routes. First of all, that is already happening right in front of us. Now, it doesn't matter whether Trump wants that or not. By attacking Iran and Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz basically means that the United States is no longer the protector of the global seas. Now, 25% of the global supply of oil cannot possibly pass through the Strait of Hormuz, so that is basically the end of globalization. But it's not just about the Strait of Hormuz. There is another part of the world, right after Saudi Arabia, there is the Red Sea. Through the Red Sea, you have the Suez Canal, where ships go from China to the Mediterranean Sea and then to the European Union. So the Suez Canal is basically the heart of the globalization. It is literally the place that you should be protecting. But if you cannot protect the Red Sea, then you don't have actually globalization. And since Donald Trump actually asked for NATO countries to come and help us with Iran, and NATO countries basically said that no, we are not going to do that, and the United States is not capable to protect that, now globalization is officially over because insurance prices are rising, fuel prices are rising, security prices are rising. And all that means that if you want to now manufacture things where it's most effective, let's say in India or China or Japan, the cost of shipping is simply so expensive that by the time you bring that to the United States, you are going to double the price or triple the price. So at some point, companies are going to think, should we keep doing this thing, or in the long run, it is simply profitable to bring that manufacturing back to the United States? Because there is also a cost to instability. The costs are rising at every single stage. If you have a ship that has to go from China to the United States, but the route is not safe, then the ship is not going to make it because the ship has to buy an insurance, and insurance companies are going to charge huge prices because their route is not safe. And if something is going to happen to the ship, then the insurance company has to cover the cost of the ship. So what is the outcome of the just-in-case strategy? Is that you are going to manufacture where you are going to sell. So if this car is going to be sold in the United States, it should be manufactured in the US. If this car will be sold in China, then it will be manufactured in China, and so on and so forth in every single country. And that means that there is no more just-in-case or just-in-time strategy. We're not eliminating the waste, which means that the cost of production is going to rise, which means that prices are going to rise for you. The problem is that there is going to be a lot of high capital expenditure. In order to build a factory, you have to spend money, you have to invest in the factories, and that money should come from somewhere. So that money will be passed down to you one way or another. And it also means less profits for companies because they have so much capital expenditure. It means that higher prices and lower pay for you. Why would we increase your pay when we are forced to take so much losses to begin with? Just because Apple will manufacture things in the United States, it doesn't mean that they will pay you more, even though that the price of iPhone, for example, is going to double. Now, I just gave you an example of iPhone. It doesn't mean that iPhones will ever be manufactured in the United States. But moving forward, a lot of companies are going to do this math. Should I start now bringing stuff from China? Or maybe it is far better for me to manufacture in the United States. And if I'm going to do that, then the cost is instantly going to rise. So because all countries, I literally have heard the Prime Minister of the UK saying that we should actually be more independent. We should start manufacturing back in the UK. I've heard the same thing about Japan, about the European Union. And of course, Donald Trump has actually started this trend. And it means that within the next 5 to 10 years, life is no longer going to be as it was in the last 20 or 30 or even 50 years. Prices will continue rising because of these reasons. And wages are not going to rise much because corporations have to ensure that they stay profitable. Because if the business that is hiring you and selling you, if they won't be profitable, they will go out of business. So their first priority is going to be to save themselves and not save you. So it is your responsibility to save yourself. And how do you do that? Is by taking the right investing decisions. You take a portion of your income and you start investing it in the businesses that are going to win out of this, so that your investments will be growing on one side, even though that there is high inflation, even though that the prices are rising, you're winning out of this situation. You're winning out of this wartime economy. You're actually getting wealthier. Prices are rising, your asset prices are growing as well. So if you want a step-by-step strategy on how you start investing and you build an investing portfolio that is going to get you to financial freedom, then join the Investing Academy. The link is going to be in the description of this video.